Welcome to SupremeTelevision, everybody, and today we're going to be reviewing Evolve on the PlayStation 4. Now, I've been playing this game for almost 2 weeks now, and I have to say that the game so far is absolutely great. I don't think it's Game of the Year material or anything like that, but the game overall is solid and is addictive and brings a lot of new gameplay experiences to the gaming industry, I believe. Instead of bringing the same old flavor and that same old type of gameplay that games like Call of Duty and Battlefield have brought over the years, and it also includes Halo. Um, so I'm kind of happy that Evolve, took this big of a different path, like a big different path from everybody else. I mean, it's still a first-person shooter at heart, but at the same time, it's also a third-person shooter. So it kind of, combines both elements into the game, which there's no game really like that besides, Fallout and Skyrim, which them games are not multiplayer, besides Elder Scrolls Online. So I guess you could say Evolve is probably really the first of its kind, or if you want to, you guess you could consider it the second, behind Elder Scrolls Online. Unless there's more games I'm forgetting that did this before. I do know there was a few classic games I think switched from third to first person view, but I could be wrong about that. So if you would post that in the comments below about what other games might have been first and third person gameplay online experiences. I can't remember. I just want to say Elder Scrolls Online is really the only one that does that so far, but I do think there might have been a few classic multiplayer games that did, but I could be wrong. Anyway, Evolve is available on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. And I must say, the game deserves a solid, I'm going to go ahead and go and say it deserves a solid 8 out of 10. And the reason I'm saying that is for many of the cons it has and pros it has. The game, when it released, was completely solid. I did not require a day one patch. It worked fine. Like the game had no bugs. Multiplayer started right up. I was able to hop right in. And in this day and age, that is a huge plus. Games like Assassin's Creed Unity and Battlefield 4 seem to fail at this. So I'm really happy. And even Call of Duty actually had its fair share of problems. But Evolve, I think, did a really good job. They did take their time making this game, and it turned out good. Like, the game, I was a little worried that the game was going to be broken when it released, but I must say, the game, it's like the first game I've picked up in the past year on my PlayStation 4 that actually works and is not broken. Anyway, people are wondering, okay, well, which version is better looking? Really, they all look almost identical, but if you want to go into detail, the PC is far more better looking when it comes to textures, lighting, and shadowing. But overall, they're all the same. However, Xbox One suffers from pop-ins and pop-out, from textures. Some of the textures on Xbox One pop in and out, and sometimes they don't never come in fullish, and you just don't never the graphics just never come into texture. Like there's sometimes where occasional trees don't really come in. They look like I don't know how to describe the trees. They're like really blurry and kind of like square looking. I don't know what you would call that. I would say PS2 trees, but I don't think that's the proper term really to call that. That's just the best way to call it. The trees are popping in and out of texture on Xbox One. On Xbox One also, it's lighting and shadowing is slightly less than the PS4, but you cannot barely notice it unless you go and somebody points it out to you, really. And it only goes when you're playing on some of these maps where the lighting comes through the trees and stuff. It shows slightly like more lighting through the trees on the PS4 version, or a light post shows more lighting than the Xbox One version, but it's not that tremendously, oh my god, noticeable type of thing. So really, it does not matter. Pretty much PS4 and Xbox One are right on par with one another in graphics. Um, But if I had to say which one didn't have no pop-ins of textures and stuff like that, is PlayStation. However, they both run at a solid 30 frames per second, but on PC you can run it at 60 frames per second. So, all in all, PC is a superior platform, which makes sense. Um, Everybody should be happy with what platform they've chosen. If not, then evidently you've done the wrong purchase, evidently. Um, but it's not about what the game looks like. I mean, if the game runs good and operates great, why does it really matter for the game to look better or right on par with PC or any other platform? It just don't make any sense, really. It's just fanboyism. But the point is, the game is great on all three platforms. Now you're going to ask, which one has a story, or does it have a story? Which one has a story? I've been talking about each platform. I said each one, but which one has? I mean, God dang it, did it again. Um, what story is Evolve have? I mean, like, what story does Evolve tell? Or, does it even have a story? And yes, it does have a story, but it's not like a story like no Mass Effect, COD, or Halo type of story. If you ever play Left 4 Dead, it's similar to that story. Um, it's actually very similar to Left 4 Dead's story, and so if anybody who's ever played that on 360 or PC, then they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But for you who you all don't know what I'm talking about, Evolve story has a 5-day duration period before it ends. And what happens is, depending on which side wins, like if the monster wins day 1 or the hunter, and then so forth, all the way to day 5, will ultimately depend the next day's outcome. Let's say the hunters win day 1, then they'll have an advantage in day 2. Cutscenes will also change because depending on who wins, and same goes for the monster. It depends on what happens with the outcome from the first day to the second day to the third to the fourth to the fifth. I mean, one day the hunters can win, and the next day monsters can win, or it could be complete slaughter where hunters win all days or monsters win all days, and it ultimately changes the story with new cutscenes, new challenges, and different advantages for each team, or well, I should say each side, because it's not really team. It's not teams based. One side has a monster, the other side has 4 hunters. So that answers the other question: does this game have some sort of team base? Nah, not really, unless you're playing on the hunters. If you're playing as a hunter, then yes, team is a huge factor. But on the monster side, no. You're all alone. It's all up to you to ultimately win the game. Other than that, the game runs phenomenal. It really surprised me how great the game ran. Like on day 1, like that just right there, settled it. And the game is very addicting. If you ever played Aliens vs. Predator on, your PC, your Xbox, or your PlayStation, then I definitely recommend picking this up if you really enjoyed that game, because this game reminds me a lot of that. The only cons that this game has is lack of content. But then again, if you look at Titanfall had lack of content. And see, I enjoyed Titanfall. Titanfall was a really good game. Even though it had a lack of very little content and lack of, unlockables and stuff to achieve, the game was solid and it was good and I enjoyed it. Same goes for Evolve. The game is solid and it's enjoyable and addictive. So that's a huge plus for Evolve. A game that operates good without having a lot of content, in my book, is pretty good, just because of the fact that the game can survive on its own without having to have any content. Now, cons is the game requires you to buy individual monsters once they release. Like, you get 3 monsters in the beginning, and 12 hunters, I believe, but in the end, when they come out with new monsters, you're going to be spending $15 per monster to have a new monster. And if you buy the season pass, then you'll have all the new hunters, but if you don't, then they'll be $7 each. Really, that's really all the cons the game has. And yes, you can co-op the story as well. But yeah, really, that's really all the game has in its con area that I must say I really dislike about the game. Other than that, the game runs phenomenal, it looks great, and I believe it deserves a possible sequel in the future, possibly with more content and improvements. So this has been a review from Supreme Television. I hope you guys enjoy. Please like, fave, and subscribe, and share the video. So this is Seth signing off. Peace.